The US markets are at all-time high, and it seems that World War III may just be around the corner. We've got Russia and Ukraine, Israel against Palestine, the whole Greenland situation,
whether they like it or not,
Iran, China and Taiwan, Thailand and Cambodia, India and Pakistan. And in this video, we're gonna be looking at some metrics and indicators that tend to predict a recession. Now, let me ask you something. Does this chart ring a bell to you? We've got a line in the zero mark. And if you look, every single time we go negative, if you look at the years 2000, 2007, 2019. So if you already noticed, these years are the dot-com bubble, the subprime, the COVID-19, and now we recently went over negative again and went back up. You can see that the recession hit is not immediate, as it takes a bit of time for it to play out. It is a forward mechanism. This chart combines the bonds of the 10 years yield minus the 2 years yield. Normally, as the 10-year bond has more duration, it tends to pay off way more than the second-year bond. So the equation of the 10-year bond minus the 2-year one would be a positive one, of course. That's why you see majority of the time the price hovering around the positive side of the chart. So let's imagine this is 5% and this is like 3%. Well, the result will be positive 2% on the equation. But when the result is negative, it's basically saying that the 2-year bond is larger than the 10-year bond yield. What this means is that the near future of just 2 years is more uncertain than the larger future of 10 years. To give you an example, in your life, we pretty much can tell where you'll be in like 3 months' time. But you're kind of uncertain once it gets to that 5-year, 10-year stamp. So every single time we went on the negatives, we had a major crisis following that. Now, as we recently went even deeper than the other crisis, does this mean we'll have some sort of recession? Let's check our other indicators. This is the 10-year stock market cycle. This basically tells us that the years ending in 5 tend to be the best, whilst the years ending in 7 tend to be the worst. I understand that this is solely an indicator and not to base your whole decision on this, but with a multitude of factors like we're doing. For the 6th year, which would equate to the present of 2026, we can see that the average is super weak in comparison to other years, and this also sort of matches with the 4-year presidential cycle, where in the 2nd year of a new president being elected, we have a huge drop from the first one. Another indicator to look at is the Samuel Banner cycle, which tends to indicate us the tops and lows of the market. As you can see, the top of 1927 in relation to the 29 crisis, 1999 with the dot-com bubble, 2019 with a Batman disease, 2007 here as a higher low before another dump in relation to the subprime. Now guys, I understand this might sound like some woo-loo-loo fantasy indicator, but this thing was made in 1875. 1875 predicting stuff that went just off of COVID. Now we had another point where we made some tops. That's 2026. And supposedly we are about to have another drop until 2032. To go over the valorization real quick, this is the PE ratio. So basically the price to earnings metric. And we can see that the S&P is currently at around 28 PE ratio. And to give you a comparison, let's imagine you were to buy a company and that company was priced at 28 times its early income. So theoretically, you have to wait 28 years in order to get your money back, which you probably wouldn't buy that company. We can see that when we invest in S&P with a PE ratio of around 10 to 18, we're around this area where we supposedly are to make an annual return of either 5 and 15%, let's say. Now, in a PE ratio of 18 and 22, you're only going to average a gain of between 0 and 5% every single year. Once we even go deeper into investing on the 22 mark, we start to get negative results per year, which is basically saying that you bought at all-time highs and you waited years until price came back to your entry levels. And even here, it doesn't necessarily mean that the S&P only moved around 3% per year. It normally tends to do 10, but it's the average of all those years combined. Same thing as if you were to invest your money in 2007 at the peaks of the beforehand subprime, and then you only started to make money in 2013. And again, guys, we're not even here. We're here at 27. So we're super overvalued. We can also see on the S&P 500 that every single time we have a recession, it tends to normally be at around a 20 and a 40% drawdown. This perfectly worked on the 2019 recession as price went down 35%. And it's not a coincidence that we just swept this low, took everyone out with their stop losses there, and went back higher. Again, putting fundamental stuff alongside with technical stuff. More recently, we had this downside move in February, which went 21% down, kind of to this efficiency. But now, assuming that we're in the peaks, for example, 30% would be to sweep this low. And if we zoom in, we actually never went to fully tap this efficiency right here. That's why I said barely. So if we were to come lower, we'd potentially sweep this low. Again, like in 2019, take everyone that was positioned their stop losses here and continue on to make higher highs. And please remember, everything I say, it's to be taken with a pinch of salt. It doesn't necessarily mean we're currently at all-time highs. We may still continue to go higher and then only later come down and perhaps make a 40% downtrend. We saw that on the yield curve chart. We went negative in 2022. Now that doesn't mean you necessarily have to stop investing on S&P 500, because in 2022, yes, we were at some peaks here, then went slightly down, but did almost over double the performance. So don't try to predict the tops, just continue to invest, but make sure you invest a bit less, build a buffer on the side, and unload it once we come into those crisis moments. If you're a prop firm trader, you should be using Prop Firm Match. I've been using their platform for years, and every single time I want to buy a new challenge, this is the first place I check. Instead of going to each firm's website and opening 15 tabs and compare every single one of them, you can just check Prop Firm Match and compare every major firm side by side, everything in one place. You can filter by rules, drawdown types, profit targets, if the firm has MetaTrader, if the firm has CTrader, if it's a Forex firm, if it's a futures firm. And the best part is that Prop Firm Match tracks the highest discount going across all the prop firms, so you're always seeing the best pricing for each challenge. For anyone that's looking to diversify the prop firm allocation and look for the best opportunities in prop firm space, I'll leave a link to Prop Firm Match in the description. Another metric to look at is the unemployment. Again, every single time we're ascending, we tend to have a recession, and this huge spike is basically COVID, where everyone lost their job, and now we're currently trending up once again. Warren Buffett, for the first time in a long period, is sitting on more cash than what he actually owns in the markets. And we know that Warren Buffett is one of the most disciplined investors of all time. He's been sitting on cash for quite a while now. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he basically said that there's no good opportunities around. So that's the reason why he's sitting on a lot of cash. But we all know the reason for the lack of opportunities is because everything is sitting at all-time highs. So we eventually need to go down. And that's where we start to load this cash back in the equities. Now, the best one correlated to the dollar, it's the interest rates. So there's a correlation between the interest rates and the dollar value. We'll have low interest rates in the economy, which will stimulate it, making an expansion. And then from that expansion, we have an inflation. And the best way to fight against inflation is to increase the interest rates. The Fed will never tell you this, but they basically need to destroy the economy to then lower the interest rates to go back and stimulate it. Since increasing the interest rates makes the currency more valuable because it's harder to lend money, everyone will stop to consume as much and rather keep their cash. Money is gonna stop circulating around, making it more scarce. So then the economy isn't growing. We're in a recession. Inflation is no longer an issue. We may start to lower the rates and stimulate the economy again. The dollar is already taking a beating from his tops from late 2022, and with the current rates of 3.75, we still have a long way to go on interest rates to cut, which means that the DXY will probably continue to head down and perhaps sweep even these lows. Now, if we compare that to Forex, which is where we do our active trading, we may have a sweep of these highs, perhaps even these ones. On EU, it's looking like a similar story. We may have a sweep of this to then potentially go back down. So the macroeconomics indicators and all the information that I gave you in this video is not solely for investing purposes, but also for our main activity, that is day trading. Actively making us money so then we can later on inject it into our investments. If day trading is something that interests you, go check the rest of my channel, as I've got content there that will make you a profitable trader. But I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Do you guys think we'll have a AI bubble in 2030? Maybe? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed this video.